All right, we're good.
We're good. We're going.
Yep.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Ball Oasis Show. Second episode of the new year. Technically, although we recorded the last one on December 31st, so I guess it's the first official episode of 2024. Jacob, how you doing? Let's start with
Good.
that.
Very good. We got weather problems where we live at. But other than that, just living life, watching basketball.
We do, man. We have been snowed in the house for a good solid week now almost. So, like Jacob said, we haven't had much else to do other than watch hoops. And it's been some pretty solid hoops over this past week in particular. And the trade rumors and trade season, as of course we mentioned in the last episode, it's upon us. It's upon us. And we saw that in full effect yesterday afternoon with Pascal Siakam being moved to the Indiana Pacers. Jacob, do you have the full details of that trade pulled up, or can you get those pulled up for us? Because we need to review this trade, man.
Yeah, I believe I do. The Pacers sent Bruce Brown. Okay, well, I think the Pelicans were involved. I think the Pelicans sent Jordan Nora to the Pacers for cash, I believe. And the Pacers sent Bruce Brown. No, my bad. Kira Lewis, not Jordan Nora. They sent Bruce Brown, Jordan Nora, Kira Lewis, and two 24 first round picks and a 26 first round pick. I don't think any second rounders to Indiana for Pascal, and I believe it was just Pascal.
Okay.
So really, go ahead.
Initial reactions. I want to know what your initial reaction is. And I think it was you on our last episode who had like a mock trade mocking Pascal to Indiana. And I remember it might not have been you, but I remember we touched on it very briefly. I remember I had I don't want to say doubts necessarily, but I had some concerns about it. But I want to hear what you have to say first. I want to hear your initial reactions, initial opinions on it. What do you think about Pascal Siakam to the Pacers?
I believe it gives them another offensive creator outside of Tyrese and Benedict Mathurin. Um, it actually, I think, gives Pascal more spacing, kind of to like work with than he had in Toronto with Miles Turner there in Indy, who can stretch the floor. They really, I think they got better offensively. I know they lose Bruce Brown defensively, but Pascal's not a bad defender. Um, but the only thing is you have to be confident you're going to give him a max contract in the summer. I think we said that with the OG trade. If you're going to give up a lot of picks or valuable assets, that you're comfortable knowing you're signing them. And I think today it came out that Tyrese Halliburton actually talked to Siakam and recruited him, and he wouldn't mind signing the max extension there. But I like it offensively. I don't think it makes them into a true contender in the East, but it does help their chance to make a playoff push.
Yeah, so you think that they sit pretty comfortably on that second tier of teams now, is what you're saying?
Yeah, I would think so. Yeah.
And of course, all of it's still yet to
Who is
get
the
to
first
the team.
tier? Boston, Milwaukee, Philly.
Yeah, I would say the consensus, in my opinion, is Boston and Milwaukee still at this point. Philly's probably right there teetering between
Teetering,
tier
yeah,
one and tier two. But I can't say they're comfortably on tier one yet. And even
yeah,
Milwaukee, I can't say is comfortably
yeah.
a tier one team right now just because their defense is so bad. But definitely Boston. Boston right now looks head and shoulders the best team in the regular season.
Yeah. Um, like with this trade, there's going to be more moves, but yeah, I'd put them comfortably in that second tier with like Cleveland, New York. I think Miami's teetering. I know regular season wise, I think they're teetering between 1 and 2.
Right. So on the last episode, I addressed my concerns about a potential Pascal Siakam move to Indiana, and I can safely say that my mind has changed a little bit. My mind has changed a little bit since then. I think that was kind of a premature thing for me to say. At the time, I didn't know that the Raptors were top 2 in fast break points and transition points, and we know that that's what the Pacers thrive off of. We know they go a million miles an hour, best offensive rating in the league, and a lot of that comes in transition. A lot of that comes off fast breaks. So I think I was a little too quick to say that Pascal Siakam wouldn't fit with the Indiana Pacers as well as I thought he would.
Right.
Because now the further I look into it, and I can say that outside voices have kind of changed my mind as well. I can say that I was wrong. I can say that I was wrong, and I can also say that before having seen anything, and I could be wrong in changing my mind. But we just look at this on paper. We look at it in theory, and it is like almost a perfect match. It really is, where you're going to have a creator in Tyrese who, of course, looks to create first. You've got a guy in Pascal who can handle the ball in those half-court scenarios whenever need be. And he also provides a very consistent secondary scorer alongside Tyrese, which I feel like, as good as Indiana has been, they haven't had that secondary scorer up until this point. You know, some games it'll be Benedict Mathurin, some games it'll be Miles Turner. A lot of games are just by committee where a lot of guys are scoring in between like 12 and 17 points. But you got a guy in Pascal who's averaging over 22 points on the season, who comes to your team now and provides that consistent second option. And I agree. I think that they're pretty well cemented on that second tier of Eastern Conference teams now. I don't know. I don't know if this helps them a whole lot defensively. We know Pascal has been a pretty plus defender up until this point of his career. He's got great length. He can guard multiple positions. So we'll see. We'll see if that helps them out. Obviously, like you said, you lose a good defender in Bruce Brown as well. But I like it. I do like it, and I like it a lot more than I liked it in theory as of 2 weeks ago. So yeah, I've changed my mind on it a little bit. I'm excited to see it. I'm excited to see it more than anything. And
they play tonight. I don't know if Pascal will play or not though.
They do play tonight?
They play the Kings tonight.
Okay. Yeah, I doubt he'll play tonight, honestly. They play Portland tomorrow night, and I kind of expect him to play tomorrow night in Portland, but we'll see how it plays out. But let's look at it from the Toronto Raptors perspective, because this is something we've been calling for a long time. This is something that we've been calling for the Raptors to do for a really long time now, probably a year and a half, 2 years at this point, for them to go all in and really focus on rebuilding their team from the ground up. And I think with this trade, we're finally seeing that materialize. Wouldn't you say, Jacob? What do you think about the Raptors' current direction by finally getting off Pascal Siakam?
They got good value. I believe we said last time that 3 first-round picks would be a lot. But with I don't think they would have got that anywhere else. Maybe Sacramento. I don't think they would have did that. I'm not sure, but I know with Indiana, I believe the package they got in return, player-wise, isn't great. I know you could flip Bruce Brown, I believe, by himself. They can kind of trade him for like a pick, maybe 2. But pick-wise, it's the rebuild. You know, get more young guys in around Scotty. Believe it opens cap space for them. I know they haven't matched, but I think it opened a little bit of cap space. But pick-wise, I think they did great. 3 first-round picks, you really can't get more.
Yeah. I think this is just my personal opinion, and I've also seen my favorite team. I've also seen my favorite team be guilty of this as well with the CJ McCollum trade. I just think they might have waited too long.
Yeah.
I just think they may have waited too long. So at this current point, I agree with you. I think that with the current value of Pascal Siakam, with him being on the last year of his deal, being eligible for max extension, It was a great haul. It was a great haul to get for Pascal Siakam. But I think if they had done this earlier, like we've been talking about,
like last year with 2 years left, or
I just can't get the deal out of my mind for OG, not even for Pascal, from Portland, where they were willing to give Anthony Simons and Shaedon Sharpe. Like imagine that as the start of your rebuild. I'm really glad they didn't do it, of course, but I just feel like they waited a little too long. And Masai is going to work. He's going to work out good deals regardless of the situation.
Yeah.
But I do still think they waited just a tad too long. But I am excited that they're finally going in this direction. And with the Knicks trade, they got those exciting pieces back with Quickly and RJ Barrett. They've looked like a pretty fun team so far. They've won a few games. They beat the Heat by a lot last night. Yeah. They blew the Heat out. And Emmanuel Quickly has like free reign of the offense right now, which is really fun to watch. And I'm sure that will only continue to grow with the absence of Pascal Siakam and really the centerpiece being Scotty Barnes. So we'll keep a close eye on Toronto as they continue to go forward. Like you said, they've got a myriad of picks now that they can use. So they'll be an interesting team going forward.
Yeah. I just think they might try to trade Jakob Poeltl, maybe. Well, I think they just gave him an extension, so I'm not sure. But I think they'll just try to get more picks and just stack picks up like you see the OKC doing, or maybe a Portland now who's talking about picks for certain players.
Yeah. There are a couple of teams out there who could use Gary Trent also. Yeah. There are a couple of teams who could use the shooting of Gary Trent. Just saying. So he's a name that I look to be moved at the deadline as well. Yeah. So we'll see how it plays out with Pascal in Indiana. Exciting times to be a Pacer fan, as it looks like they're finally kind of going in a winning direction and not kind of sitting in that middling tier that they've sat in for a really long time, since really the Paul George days, which is like almost 10 years ago at this point, which is crazy to think about. But Indiana is going to continue to be a fun team to watch.
Yeah, I think they're also interested in Paul George if he doesn't sign an extension.
I saw that. That's really interesting. So that would be a really interesting team now.
So I don't know how that would work with Siakam there if he gets a max, but that'd be interesting to see.
I would like it. I would like that fit, honestly. But I'm sure Paul George is not thinking about that right now with how good the Clippers are doing.
Right.
Big segment today. I think this is going to be really fun. We're going to do playoff matchups that we would like to see. So we've seen some of the games this season, some of the more exciting games, and makes us think like, man, if we could get 70 games of this, how cool would that be? You know, obviously we see some of the in-season tournament competition, and we see some of the we'll see Rivals Week next week that can maybe, produce some of the same games.
Right.
So we're going to do playoff matchups we would like to see today, hoping that we have different ones. I'm really, really tried to kind of, throw in a mixed bag with mine. I have 5. Jacob, do you have 5 as well?
Yeah, 5.
So we'll each give 5 playoff matchups that we would like to see at this current state. Obviously, things can change with the trade deadline, with the buyout market, and with teams, with the standings, constantly changing. But as they sit today, let's see what we would like to see. I'm excited for this. This is my most anticipated segment up into the season at this point. I'm really excited to see this. I'm really excited to talk about this. I want you to go first, though, Jacob. Give your first playoff matchup that you would like to see this season.
My first matchup is in the East. They've built a rivalry this year. It's the Indiana Pacers and Milwaukee Bucks.
That's the immediate no-brainer.
Yeah, it's a no-brainer. Every time they play, I tell you, I want to see that in a 7-game series. Dame and Tyrese kind of went not back and forth, but Tyrese did the Dame time celebration, and Dame kind of said some stuff about it. Every time we obviously had the Giannis ball incident where he chased him through the tunnel. I believe that was against Indiana as well.
Yeah.
It's just every time they play, it's just tension. You see tension. Like after that, Indiana went and got James Johnson. who, yeah. So it's just a lot of tension. All the games are good and close. It's really never just a blowout. But I just think with Tyrese and Dame against each other, and now you have Siakam there who can also create and try to help slow down Giannis because Miles
Yep,
Turner hadn't been the best at it this year. It'd just be a fun playoff matchup to watch.
for sure, without a doubt. Those games have been absolute cinema all season long. And it's crazy that they played like 3 or 4 of them in the span of like 2-3 weeks. It seemed
Yeah,
like every other night the Bucks were playing the Pacers.
I think
Um,
they played five. They played 5 games this year with the in-season tournament.
5 games.
I believe
Wow.
so.
5 games is crazy. Um, but yeah, almost every single one of those games has produced really, really great entertainment. Um, Obviously, they're the top 2 offenses in basketball right now. So, what else can you really hope for in a playoff series? Obviously, you would think the Bucks are a better team on paper. They're the more experienced team on paper. Um, but with this Pascal Siakam trade, I will say Pascal Siakam has been on some Raptor teams who have been really, really effective in slowing down Giannis in the playoffs. So I'm sure it's different. It's different, defensive schemes under Rick Carlisle than it was with Nick Nurse, and the help defenders
Right.
alongside Pascal are a lot different in Indiana than they were in Toronto. But offensively, this is a dream. This is a dream series, and I think any sane basketball fan would love to see these two teams square off in the series. Um, Final scores are going to be 140 to 135.
It feels like, yeah.
Yeah, that would be absolute. That would be absolute madness. I would love to see it.
And like
My
you said,
first.
oh, go ahead.
Wait, no, you go ahead.
Like you said, on paper, Milwaukee should be the better team, but the way they've been playing, playoffs are different. But that game will more than likely, I think, go to 7. And
Yeah,
if Indiana would win, I'd be surprised, but not that surprised. Just
yeah,
from the defense we've seen from Milwaukee this year.
yeah. That's a good point you make. That's a really good point you make because we know playoff basketball is a lot different than regular season basketball, and it seems to skew towards half court offense
Right.
more than kind of the offense that the Pacers like to run on a consistent basis. So I think that does favor the Milwaukee Bucks. The Milwaukee Bucks are probably the best half court offensive team in the NBA up until this point. Um, but even still, the Bucks defense has just been so porous up to this point that I wouldn't doubt that the Pacers would be able to continue their success, and we would see some otherworldly numbers. We would see players going for 40 and 50 on a game-to-game basis. We'll see 20 assist games from Tyrese like we have a couple times this season. So I do think that playoff basketball atmosphere does favor the Bucks a little bit, but even still, both of their defenses are so porous that I don't think it would matter all that much.
Yeah, and I would lean Indiana coaching wise. I think
Really?
with Adrian Griffin, he hasn't. I think we've talked about it. He hasn't really. I know it's first year head coach, but I haven't seen much from him this year.
Yeah. I guess I'm thinking past the head coaches. I think I'm thinking about just
Just
schemes and kind of assistant coaches as well. But yeah, obviously Rick Carlisle has the resume over Adrian Griffin up to this point. So yeah, I agree with you there.
okay.
My first matchup though, this is a matchup that is in line to happen right now. These two would play if the season were to end today, and I would love to see it. I would love to see this matchup. An inexperienced playoff team, a younger playoff team against some of the game's greatest players who have been to the finals. Um, the Minnesota Timberwolves against the Phoenix Suns. That would be a 1-8 matchup right now. The Timberwolves versus the Suns. Let's think about this one. Obviously, they have contrasting styles of play. We know the Suns as running gun, half court offense, offensive juggernaut type team, especially with their big three back and playing. Now, obviously, they have their problems on the defensive end. Minnesota Timberwolves do not. They do not have problems on the defensive end. They have been the number one defensive team in basketball pretty much the entire season, the number 1 seed in the Western Conference because of it. I don't think we've touched on this enough on this channel, Karl Anthony Towns is having a really, really good season as the
is.
secondary scorer in Minnesota. I don't think that should go under the radar any longer. He's been right up there, 50, 40, 90. Of course, we know about their bench production that they've gotten so far with Nas Reed. Mike Conley has shot almost 50% from three. I saw a stat yesterday. Mike Conley shooting 60% from three in the corner.
That's all that I think.
That's insane. It's insane. Obviously, they've been healthy all season, so that's helped. But
I think I saw a shot chart that he's shooting above average from three in every spot.
Yeah. And I mean, we say all these things about the Timberwolves, and we haven't even touched on their best player yet, Anthony Edwards, who is going to be an All-Star, is going to be on an All-NBA team this season. Great two-way ability. I don't even have to touch on that with Anthony Edwards. But just thinking about this series, we know the playoff atmosphere is different. We know that in the past, the Minnesota Timberwolves have had their struggles in the playoffs.
Right.
I think back to that series 2 years ago against the Grizzlies as the prime example. Last year, of course, they were just outmatched by the Denver Nuggets. But thinking about a series between the Timberwolves and the Suns, you would think that Jaden McDaniels would be on Kevin Durant.
Right.
You would think that Ant would match up against Devin Booker.
Yeah.
Think about that. Wow, that'd be quite a matchup.
Agenda pushing.
Yeah. You would think that the Timberwolves would win the glass if they. Here's the dilemma. Here's the dilemma with this series. Here's why I'm not sold that the Timberwolves can win this series outright. We have seen Utah Jazz teams in the past with Rudy Gobert on the floor. We've seen Rudy Gobert get played off the floor in the playoffs.
Right.
By teams that run smaller lineups. So I think matchup-wise, we know the Suns can go to that small ball lineup with Kevin Durant running the five. I don't know, man. I don't know if Rudy Gobert is suited for that. We've seen him, make strides guarding the perimeter, but not against a guy like KD, man.
Yeah,
not against a guy like KD. So at this current point, I don't know who I would pick to win this series, honestly. I don't know who I would pick. But just thinking about it, thinking about the contrasting styles of basketball, thinking about what we have seen up until this point, and obviously the Suns have been shaky, but they've been, injured. So they may continue to climb the standings. It would be fun, though. It would be a really fun series. Two of the best shooting guards in the league. Best defense versus one of the best offenses. I would watch every game intently.
Yeah, I would assume that would put Mike Conley on Bradley Beal. They would target Mike Conley.
Yeah.
Would Cat be on? What's Phoenix starting lineup?
Phoenix's starting lineup lately has been Beal, Booker, Grayson Allen, Kevin Durant, and Nurkic.
Since Minnesota plays a big, I don't know.
It's contrasting styles. It's hard to say because Phoenix could go to that small ball lineup, but it could not. It could just not be effective either, and they just get killed on the glass. And
because you'd be putting Karl Anthony Towns on Grayson Allen at that point.
I don't mind that because Grayson Allen is pretty stationary.
Yeah. Unless you would want to put Cat on KD. Put Cat on KD, move McDaniels to Booker.
You think about coaching in this series too. Who do you take, Frank Vogel or Chris Finch? I'm asking that as a serious question, by the way. Because we have given apologies to Chris Finch, so we no longer have an agenda of hate against Chris Finch. I never had an agenda of hate actually, but just for the memes, just for the. Frank Vogel's won a championship. Is all I'll say.
Yeah, but he has been out of the league 2 years, 3 years.
I guess I don't know how much that plays into it. I think that there were teams who wanted Frank Vogel to be their coach.
I might leave Vogel just because he has done it before. He has been to the finals and conference finals before.
These are also two teams that I don't see making trades either. I don't see either of these teams. I think what we see roster wise is what we'll see pretty much in the playoffs.
Depth. Well, we know depth. We don't just cut down to 7-8 guys.
Yeah.
Let's say without KD or Nurkic on the floor, who would guard Naz Reid bench matchup wise?
Naz Reid. I guess it would be like Chimezie Metu.
Yeah.
Or Keita Bates-Diop. I don't think both of them would play playoff minutes. It'd be one of those two.
Yeah, because Minnesota has ran Rudy Gobert, Naz Reid, and Karl Anthony Towns lineup before.
Yeah, and I still think, I know Josh Okogie hasn't been, heavy in the rotation. I think in the playoffs, Josh Okogie is a guy that will play minutes just because of his defensive prowess.
Okay.
I don't know which way I'm leaning right now, because you obviously see the success of the Timberwolves, but you also know what caliber of a team the Phoenix Suns. Yeah. So I don't know.
I want to lean Minnesota just because how good they've been, the best defensive team for most of the year, basically all of it. But like you said, when Phoenix is healthy, they.
I don't know. We don't have to give predictions either. It's still so early. We're only halfway through the season.
It'd be a toss up.
Yeah. So I'm not going to give a prediction for it. I would just love to see it. That's all I'm going to say. I'd love to see it.
You get my next one.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'll give my other East one. This is the Philadelphia and New York Knicks. Obviously, we had the OG trade to New York, and they have played, and it was a really bad game. Philadelphia, I think, lost by like almost 40. It's one of those nights. But I guess just playoff atmosphere-wise, when they always play, it's really good atmosphere. You'd get Joel Embiid. Mitchell Robinson might come back. I don't think it's for sure yet, but they said he might make a return this year. Even against Isaiah Hartenstein. It's been good matchups, and he's been really good lately. We've talked about him a lot. Then you probably have the Julius Randle, Tobias Harris matchup if he's there. And then I was going to say Maxey and Brunson, but did put OG on Maxey. But either way, I think both offensives can be really good. Both have been good defenses as well. I think it just be a fun matchup. Just a lot of. I think it'd be like a lot of back and forth. Like how close games are, they'd be back and forth the whole game. It wouldn't just lean one way the whole game.
Yeah. This series, just thinking about what it could be, it seems like grinded out playoff basketball. And I mean, we say that that's synonymous with Tom Thibodeau teams anyway, but going up against a Nick Nurse team also, it's just, the perfect atmosphere for that. And the interesting thing about this matchup to me, as I had this matchup on mine originally before I changed mine last minute, is that these two teams are very active in the trade market still. So we may not see the finished product of either of these teams at this current date. We know that the Knicks have been active in talks around Malcolm Brogdon. So Malcolm Brogdon could be linked to the Knicks.
I know Quentin Grimes has been shopped around too, and he was good for them in the playoffs last year.
Right. Yeah. Obviously, no Quickly or RJ Barrett anymore.
Right.
But yeah, we know the Sixers have been involved with Zach LaVine. I don't know how much I really buy into that.
I wouldn't buy much into it.
Yeah, but we see several names be thrown with the Sixers as well, including Malcolm Brogdon. Malcolm Brogdon could potentially land there too. But yeah, just thinking about this series, it seems like a really grinded out, really kind of throwback type series where there are going to be some ISO possessions, and it really seems like whoever wins the ISO game might win this series, honestly.
Yeah, because we know Tibbs is a defensive coach, and so is Nick Nurse. They're not afraid to throw any defense at you. Like the other night, they had in the Philadelphia-Denver game, they had Patrick Beverley on Jokic some. So they're not afraid to just throw defensive, just try it, just throw it at you. That's why I think might be, like you said, it comes down to the ISO, but it'd be, I guess, who could execute better on defense. Is
Right.
what the big thing would be.
Right. I don't know who I would pick in this series either. The one thing I will say, is that I'm without Mitchell Robinson. You know, like you said, Mitchell Robinson could come back. Joel Embiid getting to the free throw line and getting the Knicks in foul trouble, especially the Knicks bigs in foul trouble, that could be really, really dangerous because right now the Knicks backup big is Precious Achiuwa. And with all due respect to Precious Achiuwa, he's not putting up a contest against Joel Embiid.
Yeah, he's played against, when he was in Toronto, he's played against him in the playoffs, and foul trouble.
Yeah. Coaching wise, I think this is about even, honestly. I think it's about even. I think that, like I said, I think it will just come down to ISO. I think it will come down to who can make their spot up threes better.
Right.
So yeah, I would like to see this matchup. I think it's a really good contrast to what the Bucks and the Pacers would be. Style wise, at least.
Yeah, it'd be a lot low. Yeah, like I said, it'd be a little bit low scoring. It'd be a lot of foul.
Well, it would just be straight half court ISO possessions for half the game.
Yeah, you would think so.
Yeah. My second matchup, I'll give my first Eastern Conference matchup. I'll stay on the Philadelphia 76ers too. I've got the Sixers versus the Heat. I've got the Sixers versus the Miami Heat. We saw this matchup 2 years ago. Obviously, Joel Embiid was not at full health. Right. So I don't think that we got the fullest potential of that matchup. I like the prospects of it. I like the prospects of it in both of these teams. Of course, we talked about the Sixers being in trade rumors. The Heat are, of course, in trade rumors as well.
Right.
With a lot of the same guys. So we'll see kind of how that plays out. But thinking about this and knowing what the Heat do in the playoffs, it makes for a really interesting matchup if both sides are healthy. Obviously, the makeup of the Heat is a little different this year with Triple J being in the rotation, with Josh Richardson probably being in the playoff rotation as well. Tyler Hero has been playing some better basketball of late too. Obviously, Duncan Robinson shooting will play, a large factor as well. I feel like Bam is as good as an offset to Joel Embiid as you can have,
right,
outside of Giannis.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Yeah, and of course Al Horford, who magically plays, amazing against him almost every time he plays.
Al looks like he should hang it up every game besides the Philly game.
For real, but I would love to see this series, reach its fullest potential. Like I said, we've seen, versions of it in the past, but there have been players injured. There have been players miss games with like illnesses or whatever.
Right.
I would like to see, or I would like to see a fully healthy version of it this time around. And I think that this is the type of series that could propel a team to a title run, honestly. With if the Sixers can prove that they can beat the Miami Heat, I think that changes the light that we view the Philadelphia 76ers. I think that changes the light that we view Joel Embiid in. Obviously, it'd be hard to combat Jimmy Butler.
It'd be the Tobias Jimmy Butler thing all over again.
Yeah, and you would think Jimmy Butler would draw Tyrese Maxey assignment, so that would be a really tough.
Yeah,
I'm thinking about playoff attention on Tyrese Maxey.
Yeah,
it was mentioned on the TNT broadcast the other night whenever they played the Nuggets. I think it's a really good point. With James Harden there last year, I know James Harden put up a lot of playoff stinkers. He had his good games, but he also had his really bad ones.
Right.
But the attention that Tyrese Maxey would draw defensively,
it would be almost the same as Joel, honestly. If not, either the same or right there below.
Yeah. So like I said with the Knicks series, a lot of it would come down to spot up 3-point shooting. A lot of it would come down to Tobias Harris, in all honesty.
Yeah, there's been, I know Stephen A said it today. I think Brian Windhorst did too, that the game that Tobias Harris had against Denver, I think he had 22 points And then the few games Joel's missed, he's had 37 and 32. If he's on the team playoff time, which is always in rumors, but if he's on the team, he will be the X factor. And I've talked bad about Tobias. He's not bad. Even you said he's become underrated.
I think so.
Which he has. Like I said, just contract issues before. But if he can play aggressive, which he has done a lot more than Nick Nurse, if he can play aggressive and not be scared to take it to Jimmy Butler, who's a great defender, or if he gets switched on to Jaime Jaquez or Tyler Hero, if he's plays at his best, it'd be a great series because we obviously know what Miami can do in the playoffs. And with the Tyrese Maxey assignment, on Christmas they played, and Eric Spoelstra threw everything at Tyrese. Tyrese was, I believe, 4 for 20 that game, arguably the worst game of the year, maybe his career. But like you said, even people said it. I think Shaq said it that on that TNT broadcast. Can you trust Tyrese to be the second option? Can he do that in the playoffs? And he had games last year where he did that. And like I said, he was third option, but he had games where he was more reliable than Joel Embiid, especially in the Boston series. Yeah, that's a series that can give you a playoff run. If you beat one of those teams, if one of them beat each other, you would feel great going against Milwaukee in the second round. Maybe I'll say Milwaukee second round, Boston conference finals.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of matchups they would see each other. So yeah.
Yeah. And like this may not be a first round matchup, but this may be a second round matchup.
Yeah.
So going forward from that, going straight into a conference final series with likely one of those two teams, you got to think that team is instilled with a lot of confidence.
Yeah, like I said, we know what Miami does, how they play in the regular season, but I'd still be scared of them playoffs just from what we've seen the last few years.
Yeah, for sure.
But my next one, this is my first one in the West. It's the Sacramento Kings versus Oklahoma City Thunder. So we have was that one of yours?
See, I thought about doing it. But I figured you would, and I was right.
Yeah. We saw what the Kings did last year. It's kind of what OKC's doing this year. Personally, just this matchup, I think it'd be great to see De'Aaron Fox and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander against each other, Sabonis and Chet against each other. Obviously, we know Sacramento kind of didn't do. They took Golden State to 7 last year, but we saw the playoff experience come into play. OKC, they haven't been to the playoffs with this core. They've been the play-in. I just think it'd be a fun matchup with young teams, young guards, not young bigs, but Chet, Sabonis. I'm guessing it'd be J-Dub and Keegan Murray.
Maybe something like that.
But yeah, I just think it'd be a fun matchup. We obviously saw what Malik Monk did last year. Personally, a Malik Monk, Isaiah Joe matchup.
Ooh,
be fun to watch.
Got some heaters off the bench.
But yeah, but that series, I don't think I'd lean either way. But plus coaching, I believe they do have well, Mike Brown won it last year, but I think OKC and Mark Daigneault he is the favorite. I don't want to say favorite. One of the favorites for Coach of the Year right now, if not the favorite. But two young teams wanting to prove that they're can compete. I think it'd be a fun first round. I think right now it is a first round matchup.
Yeah, because I know the Kings are sitting around like that 6, 7, 8 seed.
The Kings are the 6 seed, Thunder's the 2 seed, so it could be a first round matchup. But honestly, just the point guard battle would probably make it the most fun to watch for me.
Yeah. I figured you'd put this matchup on there, so I didn't. Glad I didn't. But yeah, this is kind of like that Pacers Bucks series where it's just offense. It's just a whole lot of offense. And I guess the difference between these two teams is that the Thunder so far have been a top 10 defensive team as well, which has propelled them to be the 2 seed up until this point of the season. Playoff experience, you would lean towards the Kings. The Kings have been there. The Thunder have, although making the play-in last year, have not been to a playoff series yet.
Right.
But this is an interesting series. This would be a really interesting first-round series. Because it'll be interesting, like you said, to see who kind of takes control. Would it be Shea, taking control of the game, or would it be Fox and Sabonis, dictating tempo and, just picking apart the Thunder defense? Rebounding will be a big thing in this series.
Yeah.
I think that would give the edge to the Kings a little bit. I think the Kings would edge the Thunder a little bit in rebounding. But I don't know. There's a lot of uncertainties in this series just because we haven't seen either of these teams play a whole lot of playoff minutes. And I think that the experience Sacramento got last season against Golden State was a really, really good experience going up against a championship caliber team in years past.
Yeah.
So I think that would really help them going into a series like this. I think I liken it kind of to the Grizzlies Timberwolves series that we saw 2 years ago with two young teams going against each other and having to make, adjustments on the fly. And sometimes the lack of those adjustments is what causes you to lose some of those games. But we've got two bright coaches. We've got two really bright coaches in this series with Mark D and Mike Brown. So yeah, I'm with it. This would be a great series to watch.
Yeah. You see the Mike Brown press conference the other day when he got ejected?
That was hilarious. That was absolutely hilarious.
I'd like to see something like that in the playoffs. But yeah, like you said, just we'll see who took over the game. Would it be Fox or Shea? So I don't know how likely it is, but I'd love to see that as a first round matchup.
Yeah, I'm with it. I'm all the way with it. My third one, I'll stick in the Western Conference as well. This is a series that has happened before with a lot of the same players, but not in the last 2 or 3 years. But just thinking about this series, thinking about the caliber of players that would be involved in this series, this might not be a first-round series. This could be a second-round series with the way both of these teams have been playing lately. The Los Angeles Clippers be facing the Denver Nuggets.
Okay. I thought we had the same one. We don't. Okay.
The Clippers would be going up against the Denver Nuggets. This would be a rematch of that 2020 matchup in the bubble with what I believe was the Clippers' best team of this current era. With their bench guys, with Montrezl Harrell, with Lou Williams, Doc Rivers' coach team. I know you have your opinions about that. But the 3-1 lead that they blew to that Nuggets team, and I believe that was the best chance the Clippers have had up until maybe this point. The Clippers have been playing – they've probably been playing the best basketball in the league over the last 3-4 weeks.
Since they started, I think 0-6, they're like 20.
They're like 18-4 now or something.
Yeah, they're the 4 seed. That says anything.
Yeah, they've climbed all the way up to the 4 seed. I know the Nuggets are right above them as a 3 seed. So maybe it's a 4-5 matchup in the first round, or maybe we see it as a second round series. Either way, I would love to see it because how do the Clippers offset Jokic? And who on the Nuggets is going to stop Kawhi and Paul George and James Harden now?
When he had the game. I like that series, and I believe we talked about it with the Philadelphia Clippers trade. We know what Harden is in the playoffs, but as a third option, I believe he'd be the third option. It's not bad. If he can facilitate, at least make his shots. So let's, like you said, would MPJ or I'm guessing MPJ or Aaron Gordon would draw the Kawhi assignment?
Aaron Gordon would draw the toughest defensive assignment.
Yeah. So I believe Paul George that would draw KCP. No. I'm not sure, but like you said, either way, it's going to be hard to stop Kawhi and Paul George, both of them. And it'll come down to, I think we saw it last year, it'll come down to how they can slow down Jokic.
Yeah. Here's another question I have, too. Can Denver's bench offset the other team's bench like they did last season? We know that their bench skews a lot younger now with playing guys like Peyton Watson and Julian Strawther on some nights.
Yeah.
Will they make a trade? Will they, seek bench depth on the buyout market? Obviously, we saw Christian Brown late in the season, last season, step up and be really big in the Western Conference Finals and playoffs. In the finals. But they don't have Jeff Green this time around. They don't have Bruce Brown this time around. So it does feel maybe a little different. They don't feel as good as a defensive team. Obviously, we saw a lot of the same things in the regular season last year. The playoffs proved to be different as they just out offense. They just out Jokic basically everybody.
Basically.
But that Clippers bench is for real. That Clippers bench is for real with Norman Powell, with Russell Westbrook, Daniel Tice, even some nights. The Clippers are playing really good basketball. Like I said, I'm not going to take anybody in this series, but at this current point, the Clippers are probably playing better basketball than the Nuggets, to be honest.
Yeah, I'd say so. I'm not nearly as confident in the Nuggets bench as I would be last year. You've seen times where they are missing Bruce Brown and even Jeff Green, because Jeff Green would play the backup 5 last year or something. Yeah. And you know how I feel about DeAndre Jordan, but he's had some okay games and solid moments this year. It might come down to bench play, and like we know it's 7-8 guys at most. We'd assume it'd be Russ, Norman Powell,
and like Daniel Tice.
So you have 8, and then Denver. I really don't even know.
It'd be like Reggie Jackson, Peyton Watson, Christian Brown, and either DeAndre Jordan or like Zeke Naji if they need a backup big. At this current point.
At this current point, like I doubt Clippers make any moves, but they might. I've seen some PJ Tucker rumors. I would lean Clippers bench, but like you said, it all comes down to if Kawhi's healthy, Paul George's healthy, and how they can stop Jokic.
Yeah, that'd be a fun series, though. That'd be a really fun series to watch.
I like to see that. Just my Western Conference, my other one. I also have the Los Angeles Clippers, but I haven't played the Dallas Mavericks.
So seems like these two have history with each other.
Yeah, they have history. It's been a few years, but they have history with each other. Luka we know what he does against them a lot of times. It can get bad. But the way Kawhi has played this year, and even the stretch he had before he got hurt last year, close to the playoffs, I'd love to see them go against each other. And I'm sure Kawhi would guard Luka more than likely. It would just be a fun series because it would be, I guess, Paul George would draw the Kyrie assignment.
Paul George and Terrence Mann, in my opinion.
Okay, yeah. And then Harden, yeah. I'd agree. Yeah, I think just tension-wise, it'd be a good series. But
you can stick Harden on Derrick Jones Jr. in the corner, or if they start Dante Exum.
Yeah, that is true. But yeah, so if you can kind of put Harden away somewhere in the corner on somebody, then yeah, it would come to how well they can defend Luka, and I guess like we said with the Denver one, what Kawhi and Paul George you get the healthy ones or not.
Yeah. Whole lot of double teams in this series by the Clippers, I would imagine, on Luka. That's what I would imagine. I don't think it would be, one guy drawing an assignment. I think it would be a variety of different defenses, a variety of different, ball screen defenses that they play against Luka. And obviously you have to keep a close eye on Kyrie as well. Kyrie has proven that he's been viable to go for 40 even with Luka on the floor.
Right.
But yeah, I think that this series would come down to forcing Dallas's spot-up shooters to make threes. Guys like Derrick Jones Jr., guys like Dante Exum. How efficient can Tim Hardaway Jr. be?
He's been really good lately. If we can get playoff Boston Grant Williams, it could kind of, he hadn't been as good this year, but if he could shoot like he did from the Boston series before, I think it'd be a really great thing for Dallas.
I don't know. I don't know if that's a realistic thing at this point. Grant Williams has not been very good this season.
No.
1 second. Let me set this up. There we go.
I can say I'm sure you've watched more Dallas than me. Has he been impactful defensively at all?
Kinda.
I know his shooting has been down, way down this year compared to what it has been before.
Yeah. I don't have a whole lot of good things to say about Grant Williams up to this point. I'm not gonna lie. But I mean, obviously, it's still early in the season. Obviously, things can change. But yeah, I would prefer to have Derrick Jones Jr. and Dante Exum starting over him most nights, which is crazy to say.
Yeah. Do you have one more?
I have one more Western Conference one, yeah, and it actually has to do with the Dallas Mavericks.
Yeah, I got one more.
Now that you mention it, first round matchup. This would almost have to be a first round matchup. The Dallas Mavericks versus the New Orleans Pelicans.
I was wondering if you have New Orleans.
Yeah, the matchups in this series would be really, really interesting. Thinking about who would guard Luka and Kyrie, thinking about Herb Jones and potentially Trey Murphy, Brandon Ingram, having long Dyson Daniels, having long, lengthy defenders on those Dallas, their two best players. Obviously, the boards would lean towards New Orleans, you would think. New Orleans has been playing some really good basketball lately too, and if New Orleans is healthy going into the playoffs, I might buy New Orleans. I might really buy New Orleans as a team that can win a first round playoff series at least.
Yeah.
A lot of offense in this series, and a lot of iso ball in this series too. I would imagine with Brandon Ingram and with Kyrie and with Luka and with Zion, rim running. I think a lot of this series also would come down to spot up 3-point shooting. I think a lot of this series would come down to who can get on the offensive glass better. And I think foul trouble. I think foul trouble kind of goes into it as well. Can Luka get Herb Jones and Dyson Daniels and Trey Murphy and guys like that in foul trouble? But yeah, this would be really fun. This would be a really, really fun first round series.
Yeah, I agree. I think I told you I'm completely out on New Orleans about a month or two ago. But
are you still?
I would say it's hard to be all the way out. I've kind of bought back into them the way they played lately.
Okay.
So
shout out to Jordan Hawkins. I got to give a shout out to Jordan Hawkins real quick. He's put up some heaters in the last few games.
He's the first, I think, Pelicans rookie to have multiple five three-pointers made games, I believe.
That's crazy. Another quick stat I'll throw out about the Pelicans. The top two on-ball perimeter defenders this season have been Jaden McDaniels from the Timberwolves. Obviously, we know how good he is. And Dyson Daniels. Dyson Daniels is number 2.
I figured, yeah.
So, just a little tidbit, just a little side note.
I wouldn't mind seeing another from 2 years ago, New Orleans and Phoenix matchup.
Yeah, that was a really fun series. I think that series kind of awoke us to what the Pelicans, could potentially be.
That was without Zion.
True.
That was your last one, right?
Yeah.
My last one is a finals thing. A finals matchup, which
what we got?
There's a lot that has to go into one of the teams getting there. But it's the Denver Nuggets and the Philadelphia 76ers.
Joel versus Jokic.
I would say the game from the other night, 2 nights ago. The game from 2 nights ago played a big part in it, and even last year's game. I know Joel hasn't played in Denver in 2-3 years, but in Philly, the last 2 games against Jokic, he's had 40 points both times. And I would assume they would guard each other more. They really didn't do that this past game. It was a lot of
Aaron Gordon behind him.
Yeah, it was Aaron Gordon on Joel, and then Nick Nurse threw a lot of Tobias and on Jokic and let Embiid kind of roam.
Mm-hmm.
you would assume playoffs would draw more of one-on-one against each other. But I don't know what it is, but I think I told you that game. They play more athletic. Philadelphia which is not an athletic team. They play more athletic against Denver. I guess because they have to, but it's always a good game. I'd like to see a Tyrese Maxey, Jamal Murray kind of 7-game series.
That would be cool. Kentucky guards going against each other.
Yeah, Pat Bev. After the game, Pat Bev said he's been locking up Murray for years now since the bubble. That'd be a fun thing to watch. Honestly, it's not a whole lot to say about it. Just Jokic and Embiid. It's always a good game when they play each other. I'd love to get a 7-game series of that.
Yeah,
like I said, it'll take a lot for Philly to get there. We know their struggles, but by chance, if it did happen, I'd love to see it.
Yeah, I would like to see Jokic really play with more intensity and more of an edge against Joel Embiid, because it seems like, in the regular season matchups, Jokic just kind of coasts a little bit.
Yeah, I
think he doesn't take like the matchup personal, and I'm not saying Embiid really does either, but
he doesn't. Even Shaq said they wish they did, but I think Embiid has said Jokic is the best in the world, but I guess when other people say it, he does kind of take it personal, and he does play a lot better against Jokic.
Yeah, with them playing in the potential final series, there's an incentive to really prove, okay, give us all you got, and obviously Joel is going to give all he's got too, so we can really see, who's really the number one.
Yeah.
Who's really the number one? Who's the real MVP, if you will?
Yeah. We've talked about it. The big men have kind of become not the big man, but I guess
they've become the premier position again.
Yeah. I would say not every team has a Jokic or Embiid, but the big man has become more important, like it has been before.
Yeah, and like you said, not even like guys to that level or of that mold. Like, think about teams that have won the finals over the past 5 years. Giannis is a big. 2020 in the bubble, LeBron and AD. Kawhi, is a bigger forward. We haven't really seen a guard-led team, win the finals
outside of
since Steph.
Yeah, and even those series against Boston, Kevon Looney kind of played a big part just from rebounding. And I'm not saying he's on the level of other centers, but he had a big impact in that series.
Yeah, Andrew Wiggins was the second best player.
Yeah,
worse in that series.
But yeah, so it'd just be nice to see them two go against each other, and kind of like another how it was the other night, just kind of a lot of different schemes thrown out, defensive schemes thrown out against each other.
Yeah, I would be down. I know that I think people would kind of be out on it at first. Some people that we know might be out on it at first, but I think once they see what it actually is on the floor, and we see kind of the promo behind the Jokic and Embiid matchup, I think that would draw folks back in and be like, oh yeah, this has the potential to be something really good.
It'd definitely be a lot better marketing wise. They'd market a lot better than like last year's Miami, who was an 8 seed. Nobody kind of expected to go that far.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'd really be a fun matchup to see who, like I said, Jokic would take it serious. It'd just be see who kind of just gets the best of each other.
Yeah, and I don't want to throw that narrative out in the air that he doesn't take regular season games seriously. It's just the level of intensity of the playoffs, level of intensity of the finals is so much different, and the level of coaching and offensive schematics is so different than what you see in a regular season game. So,
right.
But yeah, that's all I've got. Is that all you got for this episode as well, Jacob?
Yeah, that's all I got. Trade deadline is in 3 weeks, so I believe we'd be on here before then again.
Yeah.
Hopefully more rumors or some more trades happen.
Yeah, I'm sure teams will be active, and we'll try our best to be active as well.
We did mention the breaking Detroit Washington trade.
Oh, Marvin Bagley got traded to the Wizards, guys.
I told you that.
League shattering news.
They had to give up. Detroit had to give up picks.
Yeah.
2
of them, right?
Yeah.
2 second-round picks for Gallinari and Jacob's favorite player of all time, Mike Muscala.
Yep. They created the domino effect. Look what happened a few days later.
Yeah, man. Apparently Gallinari was in practice wearing a starter's jersey. So apparently he's going to be starting for the Detroit Pistons. So
I don't know. They got another win.
They did get another win against the Washington Wizards. So
yeah.
And I know the Spurs and the Pistons play. Do they play tomorrow night? I think they play tomorrow night.
I know they played a few nights ago.
The Spurs and Pistons. I think. No. The somebody plays Charlotte. I think the Spurs play Charlotte or the Wizards play Charlotte. Somebody plays Charlotte.
The Spurs play Charlotte tomorrow.
Oh, okay.
I don't see a Detroit win anytime soon.
Well,
they play the Bucks, I think, the next 2 games.
Just means that there's an upset on the horizon somewhere.
Hopefully.
So that's all that means. But yeah, I've got nothing else to add to. I'm sure we'll be active as the trade deadline gets closer. And we'll continue to monitor everything going on with that. But if I've got nothing else to say, Jacob, you got anything to say before we close?
That's it.
That's it. We'll see y'all next episode, and peace out.
Yeah.